Yo, what's going on, guys, and welcome back. Now we got to do the Western Conference Finals preview. If you have not watched before, what we do is we're going to break down first the Timberwolves for about 4 minutes, then another 4 minutes talking about the Thunder, previewing both teams' strengths and weaknesses. And then if you just want to skip to the end of the video to hear the prediction, about the last 2 to 3 minutes of whatever the length of the video is. Go there. Before we start, though, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Who will win this series? And how many games and why? Then let's get it. Like and subscribe. It'll help out the channel a ton for more content like this. I work for USA Today's hoopsite.com covering the NBA and the Miami Heat. So, as I said, we're going to start off with the Timberwolves. Got my handy dandy dual monitors next to me. And look, the Timberwolves were a team that they've been here before, baby. They know what they're trying to do. They're trying to get to the NBA Finals. And this is a squad that I thought in the beginning of the year, like many other people, maybe they take a step back one year and then next year. But no, as the year went on, they figured out how to become a cohesive unit. And Julius Randle, baby, that was such a good fit, in my opinion, in terms of how it ended up working out in the playoffs, because he ended up being the second creator who could grind and get downhill to allow Anthony Edwards to not have to shoulder all the weight. Last year, they went up against Luka Doncic and lost 4-1. This year, they're going against a team that hadn't been to the Western Conference Finals in this iteration of the squad. Right now, in the playoffs, I think the obviously scoring totals are down, but Anthony Edwards is at an MVP ascension level. He's their high usage creator who's thriving under pressure. He's playing with this MVP load on his shoulder. 28 points, 45% for the field, almost 40% from three, 60% true shooting. That's just the regular seasons. In the playoffs, 27 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 1.5 steals. It's been the same thing in crunch time. And this is a team that's doing a better job boxing out. They've been more balanced as a unit. They have been efficient with their shot selection. They've improved their passing. Yes, their 3-point percentage is slipping, but that's just playoff basketball. And they've been, a very focused defensive team. That Rudy Gobert out here, yeah, he's averaging 9 points and 10 rebounds, 1.5 blocks, 61% from field. He's literally a paint deterrent. You will not come in there. Going in the paint is a no-fly zone. All right. He is a elite rebounder. And defensively, he's going to help start fast breaks because of the amount of boards he absorbs. Now, he's had 1 or 2 good games in the playoffs offensively. Mainly, though, he has been at a lower offensive volume than what he was in the regular season. But I think Julius Randle is the X factor addition with Jaden McDaniels, because he's been that two-way glue guy in the playoffs. 24 points a game compared to 19 in the regular season. Shooting 51% for the field, getting to the free throw. He's elevated in the playoffs. He's legit the Wolves' second option. And then you have Jaden McDaniels, who I just mentioned earlier, 15.5 points, 6 rebounds, knocking down just all the open shots. But you know what's the best thing is? He's an elite wing stopper. He's going to be a guy who's guarding up against all the playoffs' best offensive players. So J-Dub, Shai, get ready. McDaniels is there. And then off the bench, you have Naz Reid, who's coming in, giving you 11 points per game. You got Dante DiVincenzo, who gives you a lot of everything. And then Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who's a secondary playmaker, but also is a stable three-point shooter who can also have a good game at any point. You got the defense of combo of him and Dante DiVincenzo, who also give you some three-point shooting. And I think their strength is they've held opponents to 101 point per games. That's the second best so far in the playoffs. They've had the best opponent field goal percentage in the West so far. They have long switchable defenders in McDaniels, Edwards, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and even throw in Dante DiVincenzo if you want in there. Then this is a team that's been efficient under pressure. They've been able to be a top 5 true shooting team in the league. Randall's emergence has unlocked the mid-post and mismatch scoring and the ability to get to the free throw line, grind the opponent, getting downhill. What people thought Jimmy Butler was going to do what he was doing for Curry is what Randall is doing for Edwards. And Edwards' driving kick gravity opens up space for shooters like Naz Reid, like Nikhil Alexander-Walker, Dante DiVincenzo, and Jaden McDaniels. Now they have 6 players, averaging 11 points, 15 points, 24. I guess Rudy's got 9, 27 from Edwards, 8 from Dante, and then 6.5 from Nikhil. So that's 7 dudes averaging over 6.5 points. That's absurd. And I know people are going to be like pointing out, I mean, the only team more impressive in terms of their like full on depth right there is obviously the Pacers and the Thunder, both teams that are deep like that. But the versatility and the bench production, plus you have Mike Conley's leadership that we haven't even mentioned, huge. Now, what are the weaknesses? Offensive droughts. They've had moments where they get stalled if Edwards is doubled. And on nights that Randall didn't have a huge game, that there was a little bit. And Mike Conley, Father Time has come back. The beginning of the year was there. Now he has returned. And the floor general spot has been a little bit. And I know there's inconsistent shooting coming from Dante DiVincenzo, and overall the team isn't as efficient as a shooting team. They're still putting up shots, but look, and I understand they've occasionally become sloppy when pressured, and they need to get a better job of not fouling, need to be more disciplined, as this could cost them against Shai and J-Dub. But they're built for a deep playoff run. They got 2-way stud MVP and Edwards playing at an MVP level. You got multiple defensive stoppers who can guard flexible matchups 1 through 5, strong rebounding, rim protection with Randall, McDaniels, Reed, and Gobert. You got a clutch shot making in Randall and Edwards, which, if you want to say those two together, are like the Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns of the West, that duo, and the bench is stable. So I think the Timberwolves are peaking when it matters most, and they're built on defense. They've got a true alpha in Anthony Edwards, and they're strengthened by Julius Randle's playoff rise. Now, they have the ability to win ugly or outlast in a slugfest, which makes them dangerous in any series. If they can get their shooters, DiVincenzo, Mike Conley, Nikhil Alexander-Walker, hot and keep the turnovers in check, this is a team that has legitimate potential to go to the NBA Finals. Now, let's get over to the Thunder and talk about the Thunder, because rightfully so, we need to talk about this team. So what is going on with the Thunder? I think the Thunder are a fun team to watch. Seriously. Look what they did this game against the Nuggets. They just destroyed them. So the Thunder are a team that so far they're doing what they're doing. Shai popped back. He's at an MVP level, drawing fouls at an elite rate. Call him a free throw merchant, whatever you want. They get dubs. Who cares? And he's probably going to be MVP, or has already been named MVP. 28.5 points, 6 rebounds, almost 7 assists, 1.5 steals. And Shai versus Edwards. Shai is the better superstar right now. They're both dominant. They're both carrying a high usage load. Okay, that's something we all know. But we'll get into the matchups later. Let me just finish breaking down the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, J-Dub, who's a dynamic secondary ball handler, scoring, shot creator from the swing man, either playing shooting guard or the wing, even sometimes power forward. And yeah, he can't hit the right side of the barn right now, but his rim pressure and his passing has kept the offense flowing. Then you have Lou Dort. Lou gets Dort. Any moment that they need a defensive bulldog, he's there. He remains the top, consistent, minutes-wise perimeter defender, because we can't count Alex Caruso, who's been phenomenal all playoffs. And he's assigned to opposing stars when he's on the floor. And there's some nights his shooting has gone cold in most of the playoffs it has, but he still logs big minutes, and he's in those games because of his defensive physicality. Also, these stats are before like Game 7 has been put in, so their stats might be better now after the blowout in Game 7. But you got the unicorn in Chet Holmgren, who's a switch big. Yes, he's a little skinny and get pushed around, but he can grab boards. He's averaging basically 16 and 10, 2.5 blocks, almost 2 threes a game. And his three-point shooting, which is 34%, with that shot blocking, is huge for them. Then you have the big old boy, Isaiah Hartenstein, Steen, is just a physical interior presence that they've needed. He'll help them out with Rudy Gobert. He's going to bring out that elite finishing around the rim that they want, the rebounding and the short roll passing, and help impact the game defensively and on the boards offensively to help physically impose their will, slow down the game, and really go at it. then Alex Caruso, come on, baby. The ultimate role player, the ultimate defensive guy. He can play 1, 2, 3, 4, even the 5. Guys, he logged a lot of minutes at the center position for them this past year. Alex Caruso's defensive IQ, his timely shot selection, his secondary playmaking. He's often trusted in the closing lineups of the game. Then you have Kassan Wallace, who's a defensive stopper at the perimeter. Yeah, he's still technically in training, but he's been able to play big playoff minutes for his perimeter defense, his hustle, and his three-point shot has been quietly consistent all playoffs long. Now you got a Swiss Army knife in Aaron Wiggins, who's an efficient scorer off the bench and gives them, some punch in limited spurts and stretches on the floor as a secondary wing scorer. Then you got the quick trigger gunner in Isaiah Joe, though his volume is down in comparison to the regular season. He's still spacing the floor, hitting down tough shots, and he's just going to be able to be an ace in the back of Mark Daigneault's pocket when they need some shooting boost. So situational lineups, Jay Will, he plays when they need some extra physicality and just a utility big. Kenrich Williams can give a spark, sparingly played except for when they need some rebounding and grit. And really, to me, again, mainly bench minutes, by the way, those guys have played. So I think on paper, the Thunder are a deeper team. They are a deeper team, and they could go more explosive at any point. I think you will say that the Timberwolves arguably could have a more experienced playoff roster, but Mark Daigneault's going to be using a deep bench. He likes to tailor minutes to matchups while trying to maintain their versatility on defense. Shai-Dub and J-Dub will lead the staggered minutes with, Chet and Caruso anchoring the second groups. Their defense, Caruso, Wallace, Dort, Holmgren, J-Dub, form the backbone of the NBA's most opportunistic defense. So when you look at that, how do we look at this matchup wise? Chris Finch is a defensive foundation coach who loves Gobert at the rim. They're going to inside out scoring with Edwards and Randall getting downhill, drawing fouls, and creating three-point shot opportunities for their players. They're going to grind the game down, play at a slow pace if they're able to. Now, OKC is going to want to push the pace, spacing, get steals, and get the transitions. They play with a switch-heavy defense that, they basically guard early, switch late, and they have the flexibility to throw any sort of lineup you want, go super big with Hartenstein and Chet, and then J-Dub, Shea, and even Caruso if they wanted. They could go small with either Chet or even Caruso at center, and they just have the ability to have bigs like Chet to stretch the floor and Hartenstein to help match up against Rudy Gobert. So you would say right there, the Thunder do have the system and the discipline and flexibility. By the way, I think this is a 7-game series at the very least. If Nuggets and Thunder win 7 games, the Timberwolves and the Nuggets will go 7 games. I'm sorry. If you don't believe that, believe it. Now, Randall is playing out of his mind, and they need him to continue to do that. It scares me if he doesn't. McDaniel's efficiency has been incredible. He's guarding the top players as well. Naz Reid's been huge. This is a guy who's won 6th Man of the Year. This is something to expect. Mike Conley or DiVincenzo could be the weakest link for the Timberwolves, while J-Dub, he's been struggling, and if his struggles continue, he could be the weakest link. And that Lou Dort and Isaiah Joe aren't shooting at the level they want, but Aaron Wiggins and Caruso and Chet Holmgren have been playing up. So if Minnesota is going to win this, they're going to have to dominate the paint. They're going to have to make Chet Holmgren look like a little kid. Rudy Gobert and Randall and Reed are going to have to go against the lean Thunder front line outside of Hartenstein and just make it physical. Slow pace, force OKC into half-court sets. Edwards has to win the star duel versus Shea, shoot 40% from 3, be an absolute the better player in this series. And then bench scoring, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Dante DiVincenzo, Reed, and even Mike Conley. They're going to have to get hot at times from deep, and they're going to have to help this team out. They're going to have to be able to contain with Nickeil Alexander-Walker, McDaniels, Jalen Williams, and Lou Dort, and whoever else has a hot night on the perimeter. But if Minnesota turn the ball over, can't be disciplined, and feed into Thunder's elite transition game, which they average 11 turnovers forced a game for OKC, Edwards is going to get blitz, and his shooting efficiency tanks, and he isn't able to help create for his teammates or isn't going to get help, it's going to be bad. And if Dante DiVincenzo, Randall, or Conley go cold, it's going to be bad if he can't get help from deep. So how does OKC win this? OKC, Shea's going to control the game. He's got to get to the free throw line, make them pay for their lack of discipline, get to the free throw line. He's almost averaging 9 free throw attempts per game. Get to them. Collapse the defense. And the team's defense forces turnovers. Win the turnover battle. the best offense is your defense. Possessions and transition buckets is going to help this out. Now, if they can get Chet to spread out Gobert, and what that does is even if he's getting pushed around, winning the battle at 5 with shooting and spacing and, creating Rudy Gobert into a liability that they're going to have to play him off the floor, or they do play him off the floor, that will allow them to wear down the Wolves' depth. And Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, and Caruso then can help contribute as they'll just pull out Gobert and expose him in space. So the other thing is that if in this situation, if they're able to do that, they'll be able to hold the rebounding edge, as OKC has the rebounding advantage in the playoffs so far, as I drop my phone. Now, the one problem that they could get hurt is that if they over rely on Shai and J-Dub isolation versus a top defense that the Wolves have. And this is a team that has slumped in three-point shooting in the playoffs. The better three-point shooting team currently is the Timberwolves. Now, Chet struggles against physicality. We've seen that with Aaron Gordon. Will that happen against Gobert and Randall and Reed? That has to be something addressed. So this series is going to be a battle of contrasting philosophies. Minnesota's going to grind you down, play physical, count on Edwards and Randall as the main scoring options. And then OKC is going to blitz and transition, spread the floor, lean on elite defensive rotations and pace, and then have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander get downhill, get to the free throw line, or create opportunities for his teammates. So if Minnesota wins the rebounding margin, limits turnovers, and outshoots OKC, then they're going to be dragging OKC into a slugfest, and that's going to be hard for OKC to keep up if their guys can't play well. If OKC controls the pace, draws fouls, and turns defense into offense, they're going to overwhelm the Wolves' backcourt rotation and make them pay. I think the Thunder have the edge in depth, cohesion, and transition play. I think the Timberwolves have the best defense. They have the most physical offense and the best playoff performer so far in Edwards. However, I think this is definitely be a potential 7-game series, at least 6. The slight edge is the Thunder. Unless Anthony Edwards goes nuclear and Julius Randle keeps his playoff leap and everything else, the Thunder should win this.